year was 1968. A chilling wind whistled through the old house, carrying with it a sense of unease that settled deep in the bones. Inside, Ed and Lorraine Warren, renowned demonologists, faced yet another case that promised to test the limits of their courage and sanity. This time, it was the case of Annabelle, a doll that had become a focal point of terrifying occurrences for two young friends, Debbie and Camilla. Debbie and Camilla had made a mistake, a grievous one, when they allowed a spirit, claiming to be a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins, to inhabit a seemingly innocuous doll. The hauntings began subtly, whispers in the night, objects moving on their own, but they soon escalated to disturbing levels, filled with dread. The Warrens arrived, their presence a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. They examined the doll, its painted eyes staring blankly ahead, harboring secrets that defied human comprehension. It wasn't the doll that was possessed, they realized with a growing sense of dread. It was merely a conduit, a vessel for a demonic entity that sought a living host. The true goal of the demonic force was to latch onto one of the two young women, using the doll as a bridge between worlds. The Warrens warned them, the gravity of the situation etched in their faces, that the battle was only beginning. This was a glimpse into the abyss, a prelude to the horrors that awaited them, and now we, the listeners, are to follow the Warrens into that terrifying darkness. 3 years later, in the quiet and unassuming town of Harrisville, Rhode Island, another chapter of terror was about to begin. The Perron family, Roger and Carolyn, along with their 5 daughters Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and April, moved into an old, secluded farmhouse. The very air around the place felt heavy, thick with an ancient malevolence, like a suffocating blanket. Their family dog, Sadie, seemed to sense it too, refusing to step foot inside the house. It was a sign, a warning that went unheeded in the naive excitement of a new home. Soon, the family discovered a boarded-up cellar, hidden like a dark secret, lurking beneath the floorboards. They could have never known the horrors it held, nor the evils it protected. The first few nights were marked with strange, inexplicable events. Every clock in the house would stop precisely at 3:07 am, a time that would soon be etched in the family's memory as the hour of dread. The air grew cold, the silence broken only by the creaks and groans of an old house settling, or something else settling, something not meant to be there. Carolyn, the mother, woke up each morning with new bruises, as though some invisible hand had tormented her through the night. Sadie, the loyal family dog, was found dead, lifeless in the yard, as though the very life had been sucked from her. A sinister presence had taken hold of the house, its unseen claws tightening around the family. Carolyn and Christine both had encounters with a malevolent spirit, the touch of icy fingers on their skin, the chilling whispers that clawed at the edges of their minds. It was not just a haunting, it was an invasion, a dark entity laying claim to the family and their very souls. Desperate and afraid, Carolyn reached out to the Warrens, hoping against hope that they could offer a salvation, a way out of the living nightmare they had stumbled into. The Warrens, always ready to confront the darkness, arrived at the farmhouse and felt the oppressive atmosphere the moment they stepped out of their car. Lorraine, with her gift of clairvoyance, was immediately hit with the full scope of the horror. A dark entity had latched onto the family, a parasitic presence that would follow them, even if they left the house. The house itself was cursed, an unholy place. The entity wasn't simply in the house, it was a part of it, as if the very foundation was made of despair. The Warrens knew this was not just an ordinary haunting. They had faced something much deeper, much darker. To gather evidence, they set up cameras and bells around the house, turning the space into a surveillance field, hoping to capture the unseen horrors. Drew Thomas, their loyal assistant, and Brad Hamilton, a police officer, aided them in this endeavor, all of them acutely aware of the malevolent presence that surrounded them, each step they took carrying a risk. As they delved deeper, their research revealed the terrifying truth behind the house's past. It had once belonged to an accused witch and Satanist named Bathsheba Sherman, a distant relative of Mary Town Eastie, herself a victim of the Salem witch trials. In 1863, Bathsheba had sacrificed her week-old baby to the devil and then taken her own life, committing suicide at 3:07 in the morning, after cursing all who would claim her land. It was no longer a coincidence that the clock stopped at 3:07 am. It was a sign, a sinister signature of the horrors that lay trapped in that house. The history of the land was soaked in blood and despair, with reports of numerous murders and suicides over the years in the homes built upon it. Each tragedy was a brick in the edifice of evil, each death a fuel for the malevolent entity. The Warrens and the family were trapped, caught in the web of Bathsheba's curse. The veil between worlds was thin here, the evil tangible, and the very air they breathed seemed to carry the weight of countless tortured souls. The dark presence was not just haunting them, it was feeding off of their fear, growing stronger by the day. Bathsheba's malevolence was not content to simply torment. It sought to possess, to completely control, to corrupt and destroy. The terror mounted, reaching a fever pitch as Bathsheba began her assault in earnest, her evil seeping into every corner of their lives. Bathsheba's presence grew stronger as she began to completely possess Carolyn. The once loving mother was now a shell, a puppet controlled by an ancient evil, her eyes filled with the same malevolent darkness that consumed the house. In the cellar, Lorraine witnessed the spirit of a woman Bathsheba had possessed long ago, a tormented soul forced to murder her own child. The horror of this vision struck Lorraine to the core. She knew Bathsheba's plan was to force Carolyn to do the same. It was a terrifying revelation, confirming the depth of Bathsheba's depravity and the peril that Carolyn and her daughters faced. The Warrens knew they were running out of time. They needed to get authorization from the Catholic Church to perform an exorcism, but they were met with a bureaucratic wall. Father Gordon explained that since the Perron family was not Catholic, approval would have to come directly from the Vatican, a process that could take far too long for the family's rapidly dwindling hopes. As the Warrens were battling the bureaucracy, the evil in the house grew bolder. Bathsheba attacked the Warrens' daughter Judy as a warning to them to cease their investigation. It was a chilling message, a demonstration of the entity's power and reach. The Perron family sought refuge in a motel, a temporary escape from the clutches of the cursed farmhouse. They might have left the house, but they hadn't escaped. Bathsheba was with them, clinging to them like a shadow. Carolyn, fully possessed, took Christine and April back to the house with the intent to murder them. They were mere tools in the hands of an ancient evil. A desperate race against time began. The Warrens knew the lives of these young girls were hanging in the balance. Ed, Lorraine, and Brad returned to the farmhouse. They found Carolyn, her eyes now completely black, completely consumed by the malevolent entity, and she was preparing to sacrifice her daughters. They managed to tie Carolyn to a chair, attempting to hold back the beast that lurked beneath her skin, while Ed began the exorcism. It was a moment of intense drama, with the very forces of good battling against the encroaching evil that threatened to consume them all. Carolyn, however, was stronger than they anticipated. She escaped their hold and attempted to kill April. Just as everything seemed lost, Lorraine, utilizing the unique connection she had formed with Carolyn, was able to call out to her, reminding her of a family memory. The connection, the light of Carolyn's past, flickered, giving Ed the opening he needed. With every ounce of his spiritual strength, Ed finished the exorcism, finally condemning Bathsheba back to the depths of hell. The evil was vanquished, the oppressive presence lifted, and the house breathed a sigh of relief. The family was safe, but the scars they carried from their time in that house would never fade. The memories a constant reminder of the terrors they had faced, the horrors they had survived. Returning home, Ed added the haunted music box from the Perron home to their growing collection of cursed artifacts. Each item a grim memento of the battles fought against the forces of darkness, each object telling a story of fear and terror. Their room of cursed artifacts stood as a silent testament to the evil that lurked in the shadows, waiting for another opportunity to strike. The Annabelle doll sat among them, its glass eyes fixed, a silent sentinel and a stark reminder of the evil that exists in the world, and the unending battle against it. The Warrens knew their journey was far from over, and in the quiet of their home, surrounded by the cursed relics, they stood ready for the next call, always prepared to face the darkness that lay in wait for them and for us. They are the guardians between worlds, the ones who dare to look into the abyss and try to bring back those who have fallen into it. This is the story of a few of the battles of good and evil. But it is not their end, it's just the beginning. The forces of darkness never truly rest.